Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Dr. Matthew Springer. He's with the University of Kentucky Extension Wildlife Specialist there. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Joanna. How are you?
Well, I'm great, and I'm excited about the topic today because I've had several questions at the Extension office about armadillos, and we've seen several in South Central Kentucky.
Yeah, this is not a new question for me, as you're not alone in terms of your county. There's definitely more armadillos in Kentucky now than there ever has been previously.
And a lot of times they've seen them on the roadside, where they've gotten hit by a car or something like that. But just talk a little bit about the life cycle of the armadillo.
Sure. So they're relatively long-lived. They don't have a lot of natural predators that are good at catching them. And honestly, their number one predator per se would be the car or truck. And they're not very big. They're only a couple pounds and they're relatively low to the ground. Unfortunately, their natural instinct of predator avoidance that kind of backfires on them is they jump when they're scared. And they have really bad eyesight, really bad hearing. They rely heavily on their sense of smell. So they evolved this jumping mechanism. And unfortunately, when a car comes up, they also jump right into the grill. So that's why we see them a lot on the roads.
And we've had some calls with people that are concerned about seeing them. What's really the nature behind their concern?
So there's been some stories on national news about leprosy and armadillos. And there is a link. Armadillos do carry leprosy. It's not as widespread as they probably made it sound. There's a couple of populations, Mississippi, Florida is one that we hear about quite a bit, and every year they get a single-digit number of cases of leprosy. Sometimes they're linked to an armadillo, others not. So that's one that we hear quite a bit about, and honestly, you can avoid that problem by not consuming them and not having one as a pet. And then, they have these giant claws that they use for digging. Which is mostly for them getting food of insects, ant colonies, yellowjacket nests, that kind of stuff. And they can make some pretty darn big holes in your yard or under your house or barn or garage. So those are the things that you'd have to kind of be worried about with them. 90% or more of their diet comes from insects. So you really don't have a whole lot of crop damage. And honestly, if they're digging in your garden, it's probably because they're after the insects in your garden.
A lot of people are concerned about the reproduction. They've heard that they have a large litter. How many, offspring do armadillos have?
So armadillos are honestly a really cool group of animals. I think there's somewhere around, 23 different species of armadillo, and a lot of them came out of South America. But we only have one species, and that's the 9-banded armadillo. And the way it reproduces is really neat. It actually has only one egg get fertilized when for the female, and that egg splits into quadruplets every time. So they always have 4 identical babies whenever they have a litter. And usually for this far north, they're only going to have 1 litter a year.
And that's just kind of odd and neat all in itself. Now, Matt, if people do have a problem, can you trap the armadillos and relocate them, or how does that work?
Sure. So legally, they fall under our Kentucky Revised Statute 150.170. So if they're causing damage to your property, you are able to remove them. Trapping is an efficient way. Unfortunately, though they rely heavily on their nose, they do not respond to baits really well. So the way people trap them is they actually set up these, what they're called drift fences, and they're basically just walls. And the animal, because of the poor eyesight, will walk into that wall and they'll hit it, and then they'll just follow it to whatever place they can turn. So if you have the wall and there's a trap at the end of the wall, they'll walk all the way to the end of it and turn right into the trap. And that's the most effective way to catch them.
Absolutely. Now, Matt, where can people get more information about armadillos?
So realistically, right now, we're trying to put together a fact sheet because this is a relatively new thing that's coming up. There are other fact sheets out there for other southern states that have had armadillos for a lot longer than we have. So I would say if you just go to, say, Mississippi State's Wildlife Extension page, I know they have a pretty good fact sheet currently. And then in 6 months, I'd say come see us.
All right. Well, Matt, certainly appreciate the information. If you have questions, make sure to contact your local extension office. Thanks for watching and have a great day.